This will be an absolute game changer for the New England Patriots. And no, I'm not talking about the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. It was a joke. It was a joke. Calm down. Don't move on. Coming back to the New England Patriots. But it's going to be huge for the offensive line in this 2024 season. We're going to talk about it. My name is Aaron. You guys already know this is Sports Talk Patriots. Do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button. Help this channel grow so we can talk more and more Patriots football. I truly appreciate it. So talking about a game changer. So we look at last season and the glaring, obvious eyesore of the offensive line was just abysmal. And you guys can all agree. You looked at all the quarterbacks that were in there last year, even though they weren't great. We know Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi did not perform well. The running game was not ideal. No one rushed over 100 yards the whole season in a game. And you could tell, and I've said it before, it all starts with the offensive and defensive line. And the offensive line struggled. But this is the game changer, ladies and gentlemen. And it's come from some interviews that have been taking place in training camp with the offensive linemen. And it's been about our boy, the new O-line coach, Scott Peters. And this is his first full-time role as the head O-line coach. Before, when he was with Cleveland, and then before that, he had an extensive time playing in the NFL. But before that, when he was an assistant offensive line coach in Cleveland for the Browns. But the reason this is a huge game changer, again, is because I would say with the New England Patriots, they were 31st in the league when it came to their offensive line efficiency. If you didn't know, there's 32 teams, so they sucked last year. And you're like, yeah, Aaron, you're really beating a dead horse. We already knew that. Yeah, I just want to remind you. But anyways, Scott Peters, the reason he's going to be a game changer for the New England Patriots in this line is what all the veteran linemen have to say about him and have been saying about him. So right here, case in point, David Andrews, he's very technical. Okorafor, he's big when it comes to technique. And then Nwenu says the same thing. And what's so interesting, what's so telling in the NFL, you can see a huge difference when it comes to gameplay in the NFL from college to professional, especially when it comes to like specialty players. So you look at any quarterback who's been thrown into a game and you're like, wow, geez, they looked really good in college, but they look awful here. And so you look at Bryce Young. Bryce Young really struggled his first year out the gate. Now, obviously, doesn't have a lot of weapons for him in Carolina. Offensive line was not great. They're trying to figure some things out there in Carolina. But when he was at Alabama, he was a stud. But that transition can be hard for a lot of people. You're going into a league where the secondary, everyone you're going up against is at the top of their game for the most part. They're professional athletes. It's not some bums in college that, you know, you can read pretty easy. So when it comes down to it, in the professional league, it's much more technical. And that isn't only in the secondary or when it comes to routes or anything like that, but it's also in the offensive line. But what's very telling to me is they're talking about Coach Peters, and they're talking about the techniques he uses, and we're going to actually go down. There's a chart. It's pretty wild. But they talk about, Okorafor talks about how when he was in college and even when he was in the NFL and currently in the NFL, all of his own line coaches, it was just kind of like, all right, you're going to run, you're going to hit, that kind of deal. And almost making it sound like, hey, so the whole idea is just to overpower the person. Yes, that's not untrue. That's a true statement. You want to. There's a reason offensive and defensive linemen are as big as they are. Duh. That's a given. But when it comes down to it, if you're just trying brute strength every single time, like on a run or whatnot, just to like plow them all the way, it's not going to be as effective unless you're using your feet. All right. And they have them placed properly as well as hands. And what's super crazy and wild is Scott Peters is very into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so a lot of dealing with hand placement, very meticulous. And so he's taking that and bringing that to offensive line handwork. And so, yes, I can overpower you. All right. You're like, what? No, you can't. You don't even know me. Sorry. What I meant was like, as an offensive lineman, there we go. If I'm David Andrews and I'm like, hey, I can overpower this tackle, sweet. But what's even going to be more helpful and efficient is hand placement. So what's wild is Peters using his jiu-jitsu training and all these different things has came up with this wild chart. So in the NFL, you guys understand there's different blocking schemes dependent on the front. Is it an odd man front? Is it an even man front? Depending on blitzers, or calling out the Mike linebacker, all these different factors in. But at the same time, there's a strike system code that Coach Peters has for these offensive linemen. And it's going to help them when it comes down to, hey, how am I placing my hands in this situation? What do I have to do? Instead of just like, all right, well, I guess this is the tried and true, very basic offensive lineman is an acronym called OIL. So it's on interior linebacker. Very basic. It's something you teach at these smaller levels, but it's almost like they're making it seem like that there's other coaches out there that make it as simple as that all right, that's what you're going to do. Yes, there's blocking schemes, but with this is so much more meticulous, technical, and hey, detail oriented. I feel like that's a huge term, detail oriented. And so is this the best offensive line in the NFL? You are if you were drinking any water right now or coffee, I'm sorry about that, and you spit it onto your phone or computer, I'm sorry. Obviously, we know, no, that is not the answer. But I think doing little things like this can help and should help. Especially, again, you have these veterans who are coming out and saying, yeah, this is great. This is very technical. This is something that we need. And especially for these younger guys. So City So said the same thing. So it's important that we're able to do that. Caden Wallace, a potential up-and-coming left tackle, possibly, we'll see, talking about that he wishes that this is something that he would have known in college or done in college. So again, that difference between, hey, going from, hey, this is just run and hit that guy, boom, to, hey, yes, I want you to overpower that guy, but you know what's going to help you more when you do that is if you place your hands like this or whatever it may be. So I think that is vitally important, and I do truly believe that's going to be a game changer. Again, I know that this offensive line was rock bottom, so really the only way is up. And so I do think by the end of the year, you might laugh at me when I say this, but I don't think it's crazy unrealistic to say that I think that offensive line efficiency, the New England Patriots will probably end, I would say, in the low 20s, between 21 or 22, 21, 20. A huge increase? No. And you know what? Maybe they could end up in the mid-teens. I don't know. What do you guys think? How do you think the offensive line is going to be this year? What do you think about Coach Peters' detail-oriented approach? I want you to comment below. Does that make you feel better when it comes to your hope in the offensive line? Or are you just still like, no, they suck. This isn't going to be good. Again, you know me. I'm a glass half full type guy. So I look at this, and to me, it's only good news. And I think it's going to be great. As well, a little added note to this, just adding, is, Jacoby Brissett, he has been, he is the starter at the moment. And when they were in full pads, offensive line was able to create a pocket for him. He was making good passes. So the offensive line has been, for the most part, looking good in training camp. They've made some switches. They've done some different things. So it's going to be interesting to see, especially as we get into preseason, how this looks. But I am very optimistic, kind of like our video yesterday, a bullish signal. I have a bullish signal on this offensive line. I think they're going to be better than most people think. I'm not a doom and gloom type of guy. Again, does that mean I'm not sitting here saying that we won't end as one of the 5 or even 10 worst teams in the NFL? That's a possibility that could happen. But I just don't think that this offensive line is as bad as people think. Next thing up, our guy, Matthew Judon. We're still talking about him, but this is good news for once. And that good news is the fact that he finally dressed for practice today, went out there and performed. I believe he had an interception from what I remember. I remember seeing some video. I tried to find it, couldn't find it again. But anyways, he went out there, and what was awesome from Gerard Mayo, Coach Mayo, was him saying that he has a great relationship with Matthew, and essentially showing empathy towards the whole situation. Like, hey, I was a player once. I understand the situation. It's not ideal, and so I get that. It's player contract negotiations aren't great. I've seen a lot of you guys say, hey, even if we traded him, we probably wouldn't get anything great for him. That's true. Again, you look at Gotcha, the contract he was given was only 2 years. We can do the same with Judon. I don't think that's a big deal. Again, a lot of cap space. Pay the man. This defensive line could be dirty. Hopefully Barmore comes back sooner rather than later, and they would be filthy. But that being said, he was practicing full pads, and hopefully he can get this all figured out, and we can get it settled, and we don't have to talk about this anymore, and we can just talk about good old plain football and not drama. Anyways, this is Sports Talk Patriots. I'm Aaron. Again, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.